The sun was just coming up over the fields of New Hope Colony. Jake Morrison walked through his wheat crops, checking the plants like he did every morning. The wheat was growing well, tall and golden in the early light. This was his farm, his dream, and he had worked hard for 3 years to make it successful. His daughter Emma was playing near the barn with their dog Scout. The golden dog ran circles around the little girl, making her laugh. Jake smiled watching them. This was why he had left Earth. Life here was simple and good. No crowded cities, no pollution, just clean air and open fields. His wife Linda was inside their house, probably making breakfast. Jake could smell something cooking and his stomach rumbled. He had been up since before dawn, like always. Farmers worked hard, but Jake didn't mind. This was honest work. New Hope Colony had about 1,500 people. Most of them were farmers like Jake. Some ran the shops in town, others worked at the small medical center or the school. Everyone knew everyone else. It was the kind of place where people helped their neighbors and doors were rarely locked. Emma came running over to him. "Daddy, look what I found." She held up something shiny in her small hand. It was a piece of metal, smooth and dark with strange symbols on it. Jake had never seen anything like it before. "Where did you find this, sweetie?" he asked, kneeling down to look closer. "Over there by the big rocks." Emma pointed to the edge of the field. Jake turned the metal piece over in his hands. It wasn't human-made, that much was clear. The symbols were unlike any writing he knew. Before he could think more about it, something strange happened. The sky started to get dark. Jake looked up and his blood went cold. Huge shadows were falling across his fields. Giant ships were coming down through the atmosphere. They were massive, bigger than anything he had ever seen. The ships were dark and covered in thick armor. They looked dangerous and wrong. "Linda!" Jake shouted toward the house. "Linda, get out here!" His wife came running out, her face going pale when she saw the sky. More ships were appearing, dozens of them. They surrounded the entire colony, hanging in the air like dark clouds. Strange lights glowed on their undersides, and Jake could see what looked like weapons. "Get Emma to the shelter," Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Right now." Linda grabbed Emma's hand and started running toward their house. Every home on the frontier had an emergency shelter underground. It was required by law. Jake had never thought they would actually need to use it. He ran toward the town center. Other people were coming out of their houses, pointing at the sky, confusion and fear on their faces. Danny Hughes, the colony's security chief, was already there with his team. They had weapons, but they looked tiny compared to those massive ships. Small craft started coming down from the big ships. They landed in the town square and on the main street. Doors opened and soldiers came out. But they weren't human soldiers. They were aliens. The creatures were huge, at least 8 feet tall. They had 4 arms and thick armored skin that looked like it could stop bullets. Each one carried a weapon that glowed with blue energy. They moved like trained soldiers, taking positions and setting up a perimeter around the town. One alien stepped forward. A small device floated near what Jake guessed was its head. When it spoke, the device turned the alien sounds into English words. "This world belongs to the Zalgarath Empire now. You will give us all your resources. You will obey our commands. If you fight, you will die." Danny stepped forward, his hand on his weapon but not drawing it. "This is a registered human colony. We're under the protection of the Terran Federation. You're breaking interstellar law." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your Federation is weak. We have conquered 400 worlds. Your people are nothing. This planet is ours now." A shot rang out. Pete Carter, a young farmer, had panicked and fired his plasma rifle at one of the alien soldiers. The bright bolt hit the alien's armor and bounced off, not doing any damage at all. The alien didn't even flinch, but the response was instant and terrible. The alien's weapon fired a pulse of blue energy. It hit Pete in the chest and he fell down, smoke rising from his body. He didn't move again. Jake felt sick. Pete had a wife and a baby daughter. "That was your warning," the alien commander said. Its voice through the translator was cold and emotionless. "The next time any of you fight back, we will destroy your entire town. You have 1 hour to gather everything valuable. Then we will process you." Process. Jake didn't like the sound of that word. More aliens were spreading out through the colony. They were going into houses, taking things, loading equipment onto their ships. Jake could see smoke rising from the Peterson farm to the east. They were burning something. He ran back to his house and climbed down into the shelter. Linda and Emma were there, along with 3 neighbors who had made it to their house. "What's happening?" Linda asked, holding Emma tight. Invasion, Jake said. Real one. These things, the Zalgorath, they're taking over the colony. But the Federation, one neighbor said. They'll come help us, right? If anyone got a message out, Jake replied. These aliens are probably jamming our communications. Deep under the town in the main emergency bunker, communications officer Lisa Grant was working frantically at her station. All normal communications were blocked, just like Jake thought. But Lisa knew something the aliens didn't. She knew about quantum entanglement bursts. It was old military technology, the kind they taught in emergency training. She typed quickly, her fingers flying over the keys. The message was simple, a mayday. New Hope colony under attack. Unknown hostile force. Send help immediately. She hit send and the message shot out across space faster than light. The quantum burst couldn't be jammed or stopped. It would reach the nearest Terran military base in seconds. An alien soldier kicked open the bunker door. Lisa barely had time to destroy her console before they grabbed her. They hit her hard and she tasted blood. But she smiled anyway. The message was sent. Help was coming. On the surface, Jake held his family close in the shelter. He could hear heavy footsteps above them. Alien soldiers searching houses. Emma was crying quietly against his chest. It's going to be okay, he whispered to her. Not sure if he believed it himself. Help will come. The fleet will come. Outside, more Zalgorath ships were arriving. Their commander was confident. This was an easy conquest, just like the hundreds of other worlds they had taken. These humans seemed weak and frightened. It would all be over soon, but the Zalgorath didn't know what they had really done. They didn't know that attacking any human colony was considered an act of war against all of humanity. They didn't know that the Terran Defense Fleet had been preparing for exactly this kind of attack for decades. They didn't know that they had just made the biggest mistake in their empire's history. Far away in space, Lisa's message arrived at Terran Defense Fleet headquarters. Alarms started blaring. Officers rushed to their stations. Orders were given. Ships started powering up their engines. The countdown had started, but not the one the Zalgorath expected. Commander Zalcourt stood in the middle of New Hope Colony's town square. His forearms were crossed as he watched his soldiers work. The humans were being lined up and sorted. Some were strong enough for labor. Others were not useful. Those would be processed differently. The invasion was going exactly as planned. This was the 8th human colony his fleet had attacked in 6 months. Every time it was the same. The humans were surprised, scared, and easy to control. Their weapons were weak. Their defenses were poor. They fell quickly. Sir, the humans keep trying to send messages, his communications officer reported. We are blocking everything. Zalcourt made a dismissive gesture. Let them try. The nearest human military base is 3 star systems away. Even if a message got through, we will be finished here long before anyone arrives. We will take everything valuable and be gone. This was how the Zalgorath Empire worked. They had done it for hundreds of years across 400 worlds. Find a weak target, attack fast, take everything and leave. The people who lived there either became slaves or were killed. It was efficient and profitable. The resource scan is complete, another officer said. This planet has excellent farmland and minerals. The crops these humans grow are very advanced. We can use their farming methods on other worlds. Good, Zalcourt replied. Begin the extraction. I want all useful equipment loaded onto the transport ships. Deploy the mining drones to the mineral deposits. On the surface, Jake watched through a crack in the shelter's entrance. Giant machines were rolling across his fields, tearing up the wheat he had spent years growing. Other machines were digging huge holes in the ground, mining for minerals. Everything he had built was being destroyed. Around him in the holding area, other colonists stood quietly. Some were crying, others looked angry but helpless. The aliens had separated many families. Children were in one area, adults in another. The aliens were deciding who was useful and who wasn't. Linda and Emma were still with Jake, but he knew that might change at any moment. He held them both close, trying to think of a plan. But what could he do? The aliens were too strong, too many. Danny Hughes moved through the crowd carefully. He was talking to people quietly, making sure not to attract attention from the guards. When he reached Jake, he leaned in close. Lisa got a message out before they caught her. Danny whispered. Quantum burst, they couldn't block it. She's hurt but alive. They have her in the medical center. How long until help comes? Jake asked quietly. Hours, maybe. But these things are bringing in more ships. Look up. Jake looked at the sky. More Zalgorath vessels were arriving constantly. The fleet now had over 50 large ships, each one bristling with weapons. Smaller ships were flying back and forth, moving equipment and soldiers. This isn't just a raid, Danny continued. This is a full invasion. They plan to strip the entire planet. Above the colony, Commander Zalcourt received reports from his fleet. Everything was proceeding smoothly. The humans had no space defenses. No ships had tried to stop them. This planet was completely helpless. Sir, we are detecting some unusual readings in orbital space, a sensor operator said. Could be debris or sensor errors. Ignore it, Zalcourt ordered. Focus on the extraction. I want this colony processed within 2 days. Then we move to the next target. The Zalgorath had a list. After this planet, there were 5 more human colonies to attack. All of them were small and isolated. All of them would fall easily. Or so Zalcourt believed. What his sensors had detected wasn't debris. Far out in space, beyond where the Zalgorath ships could clearly see, something was happening. Space itself was rippling and bending. These were the signs of ships about to arrive through faster-than-light travel. Big ships. Warships. Human warships. Lisa's message had reached Terran Defense Fleet headquarters within seconds. The response had been immediate. Every available ship in range had been ordered to New Hope Colony. Not to negotiate, not to warn, to fight. The Terran Federation had a simple policy. Any attack on a human colony was an attack on all of humanity. There would be no mercy for those who threatened human civilians. The fleet was coming, and they were coming in force. On the planet, the colonists didn't know help was on the way. They only saw more alien ships arriving, more soldiers spreading across the land, more of their homes being torn apart. The situation looked hopeless. The aliens had set up a command post in the town hall. From there, they coordinated the looting of the entire colony. Food stores were being emptied. Medical supplies were taken. Tools and equipment were loaded onto transports. Even personal belongings were being stolen. Jake saw one alien soldier come out of a house carrying a child's toy. The casual cruelty of it made his blood boil. These creatures didn't just want resources. They wanted to take everything, to leave nothing behind. Why are they doing this? Emma asked, her voice small and scared. Jake didn't have a good answer. How do you explain evil to a child? How do you tell her that some beings in the universe simply take what they want and hurt anyone who gets in their way? Because they think they can, he finally said. Because they think we're weak and can't fight back. But we can fight back, right, Daddy? Yes, sweetie, we can. Commander Zalcourt stood on a balcony overlooking the town square. He felt satisfied. This conquest was adding significantly to his record. 8 human colonies in 6 months. His superiors would be pleased. There might even be a promotion waiting for him when he returned home. The humans below looked defeated. Good. Broken spirits made for compliant workers or easy elimination. Either way, it didn't matter to Zalcourt. They were just another conquered species, no different from the hundreds of others the Empire had crushed. Commander, the sensor readings are getting stronger, the sensor operator reported again. I think we should investigate. Fine, Zalcourt said, annoyed. Send a patrol ship to check it out. But make it quick. I don't want any delays. A small Zalgorath patrol craft lifted off and flew toward the edge of the system, where the readings were coming from. It accelerated, its sensors sweeping space ahead. The pilot was bored. This was probably nothing, just some space debris or a sensor glitch. Then his sensors lit up like fireworks. Energy readings were spiking everywhere. Massive gravitational distortions were forming. And then he saw them. Ships. Dozens of ships. They were materializing out of faster-than-light travel right in front of him. But these weren't merchant vessels or small patrol craft. These were warships. Human warships. and they were huge. The patrol pilot sent an urgent message back to the fleet. "Commander, we have incoming. Multiple human military vessels. They are approaching fast." Zalcort's satisfaction vanished instantly. "How many ships?" "Counting now, sir. At least 30. No, more. 40. Still counting. 40 human warships. That was impossible. The intelligence report said humans had weak military forces spread thin across their territory. How could they have assembled such a fleet so quickly? "Battle stations," Zalcort ordered. "All ships, prepare for combat. They are just humans. We outnumber them. We will crush them like we crushed this colony." But there was doubt in his voice now, and in the back of his mind, a small voice was starting to whisper that maybe, just maybe, the Zalgorath Empire had underestimated these humans. On the planet's surface, Jake suddenly heard Danny's voice calling out, "Everyone, look up, look at the sky." Jake looked. At first, he didn't see anything different. Then he noticed it. Small lights in the sky, like new stars appearing. But they were moving. Getting brighter, getting closer. "Is that them?" someone asked. "Is that our fleet?" "That's them," Danny said, and Jake could hear the emotion in his voice. "The cavalry just arrived." Emma looked up at her father. "Daddy, what's happening?" Jake smiled for the first time in hours. "Help is here, baby. Our people are here." Around them, other colonists started to notice. A murmur went through the crowd, then cheers. The aliens guarding them looked confused, not understanding why their prisoners were suddenly celebrating. In space, Captain Alan Brady stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vengeance. Behind his ship, 37 other warships had dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They formed a battle line that would have made any military historian proud. "Get me a tactical display," Brady ordered. His voice was calm but cold. Very cold. The display showed 53 Zalgarath ships surrounding the planet. It showed the colony on the surface. And it showed that many of the human life signs were clustered together in holding areas. Prisoners. The aliens had taken prisoners. "Hail them," Brady said. "All frequencies." A moment later, his message went out to the Zalgorath fleet. "Attention hostile vessels. I am Captain Alan Brady of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have attacked a human colony. You have taken our people prisoner. You have 5 minutes to withdraw all forces, release all prisoners, and leave this system. If you refuse, we will destroy every single one of your ships. This is your only warning." Commander Zalcort received the message. He looked at his fleet. 53 ships against 38. The numbers were in his favor. "Send our response," he told his communications officer. "Tell them to leave or be destroyed. This world belongs to the Zalgorath Empire now." The message was sent. On the Vengeance, Captain Brady received it. He read it once, then looked at his tactical officer. "Well," Brady said quietly, "they chose death. Light." The Vengeance fired first. Its main railguns came to life, launching tungsten rods at incredible speed. The metal projectiles moved so fast they were almost invisible. They crossed the distance between the human fleet and the nearest Zalgorath cruiser in just seconds. The alien ship's shields were designed to stop energy weapons like lasers and plasma bolts. But these weren't energy weapons. These were solid metal moving at a large fraction of light speed. The shields did nothing. The tungsten rods punched through the alien hull like it was made of paper. Explosions rippled along the Zalgorath cruiser's side. Atmosphere vented into space. Secondary explosions started as the damage reached critical systems. Within 30 seconds of the first shot, the alien cruiser was breaking apart. "Target destroyed," Lieutenant Kelly Barnes reported from the tactical station. "Remaining hostile vessels are powering weapons." "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Captain Brady ordered. "Fire at will," the human fleet moved. Each ship had been drilled in combat maneuvers for years. They spread out, creating multiple angles of attack. Their engines fired in complex patterns, making them hard to target. The Zalgorath fleet fired back. Blue energy bolts lanced through space, trying to hit the human ships. A few connected, hitting the shields that protected the Terran vessels. But the shields held. Human defensive technology had been specifically designed to handle energy weapons. Shields at 92%, Kelly reported. Minimal damage. Launch missiles, Brady ordered. Target packages 1 through 6. Focus on their command ship. The Vengeance opened its missile tubes. Dozens of smart missiles shot out, immediately breaking into different groups. Each missile had its own small computer brain, making decisions about how to reach its target. They zigzagged through space, making themselves hard to hit. The Zalgorath point defense systems tried to shoot them down. Some missiles were destroyed, but there were too many coming from too many directions. The missiles reached their targets and exploded. Nuclear fire blossomed in space. On the Zalgorath command ship, Commander Zalcourt was beginning to panic. Report, how many ships have we lost? 6 destroyed, sir. 3 more heavily damaged. The human weapons are much more effective than our intelligence indicated. Their kinetic weapons go right through our shields. All ships concentrate fire on their flagship. Deploy fighters. Get me damage assessment on the human fleet. Sir, we have only destroyed 1 human ship. They are evading most of our fire. Their shields are stronger than expected. This was not how it was supposed to go. The Zalgorath had conquered hundreds of worlds. They knew how space battles worked. But nothing in their experience had prepared them for fighting humans. The Terran fleet worked together like a single organism. When one ship was targeted by multiple enemies, others would move to cover it. When an opening appeared in the enemy formation, multiple human ships would concentrate fire to exploit it. This wasn't just superior technology. This was superior tactics. Another Zalgorath cruiser exploded. Then another. The human railguns kept firing, never missing, never stopping. Each shot was calculated by advanced computers, but the final decision to fire was always made by a human. And humans were very, very angry about what had happened to their colony. Sir, we have lost 15 ships now, the Zalgorath tactical officer reported. His voice was shaking. Recommend we retreat. No, Zalcourt shouted. We outnumber them. We are the Zalgorath Empire. We do not run from inferior species. But even as he said it, more ships were dying. The human missiles were smart enough to target weak points. The human railguns fired with perfect accuracy. And the human ships moved like dancers, always one step ahead of the Zalgorath weapons. On the planet's surface, Jake and the other colonists could see flashes of light in the sky. The battle was so big they could see it even during the day. Each flash meant something exploding in space. Jake hoped it was the alien ships and not the human ones. The Zalgorath soldiers on the ground were getting nervous. They were receiving updates from space, and the news was bad. Their fleet was losing. Many soldiers were looking at the sky, seeing their ride home being destroyed. Stay calm, Danny Hughes was telling the other colonists. Let our fleet do their work. When it's over, they'll come for us. What if the aliens decide to kill us before they lose? Someone asked. It was a good question. A scary question. Would the Zalgorath take revenge on the helpless colonists before their fleet was destroyed? In space, the battle was becoming a massacre. 20 Zalgorath ships were gone now, then 25, then 30. The human fleet had lost only 2 ships, and both of those had been evacuated before they were destroyed. Commander, we must retreat, the tactical officer insisted. We cannot win this battle. Zalcourt looked at his displays. The truth was undeniable. His fleet was being torn apart. All ships, emergency jump protocols. Prepare to retreat. But Captain Brady had expected this. The human fleet had positioned ships at all the likely escape routes. They are trying to run, Kelly reported. Orders? Brady's expression was cold as ice. They came here to take our people. They killed our colonists. They don't get to just leave. Pursue and destroy. Target their engines first. I want some of them alive for questioning. The Zalgorath ships tried to escape. Their faster-than-light drives started spinning up, building the energy needed to jump. But the human ships were faster. Railgun fire targeted the drive system specifically. One after another, alien ships lost their ability to escape. Some Zalgorath ships managed to jump away, maybe 4 or 5 out of the original 53. The rest were trapped. Some tried to surrender. Others tried to fight to the end. It didn't matter. Within 2 hours of the Terran fleet's arrival, the space around New Hope colony was quiet. Debris floated everywhere. Disabled alien ships drifted, their crews either dead or trapped inside. A few human ships had damage, but nothing critical. The battle was over and humanity had won completely. Secure orbit achieved, Kelly reported. Remaining hostile forces on the planet are cut off. Brady nodded. Begin landing operations. Get the Marines down there, and get me a casualty report from the colony. Drop pods began launching from the Terran ships. They fell through the atmosphere like meteors carrying Marines in powered armor. Each Marine was a soldier trained for exactly this kind of mission. Rescuing civilians, eliminating threats, and they were very good at their job. Lieutenant Nicole Harper led her company toward the colony. Her armor gave her enhanced strength and protection. Her helmet displayed tactical information, showing where the enemy was and where the colonists were being held. All units, this is Harper, she said over the radio. Rules of engagement are clear. Protect the civilians at all costs. Any alien that threatens our people dies. No exceptions. Understood, Lieutenant, her Marines responded. The drop pods hit the ground hard, their armored shells absorbing the impact. Doors blew open and Marines poured out, weapons ready. The Zalgorath soldiers on the surface saw them coming and opened fire. Blue energy bolts splashed against Marine armor. Most of the shots were absorbed by their shields. A few got through, but the armor underneath was thick enough to handle it. The Marines fired back with armor-piercing rounds and heavy weapons. The aliens were tough, but they weren't prepared for this. Their exoskeletons could stop normal bullets, but not the weapons the Marines carried. Each shot from a Marine rifle was designed to punch through heavy armor. The Zalgorath soldiers started falling. The alien commander on the ground realized his position was hopeless. His fleet was gone. He was surrounded by heavily armed Marines. His only leverage was the colonists. He activated his translator and broadcast on all frequencies. Human soldiers, stop your attack or we will kill the prisoners. Nicole held up her fist, signaling her Marines to stop. She switched to an open channel. You are surrounded. Your fleet is destroyed. Let the colonists go and surrender. You will be treated according to the laws of war. Keep threatening them and we will show you why you should never have come here. There was a pause. Then the alien responded. We are Zalgorath warriors. We do not surrender to inferior species. Then you die, Nicole said simply. Snipers execute. What happened next happened so fast the aliens couldn't react. Marine snipers had been positioning themselves on rooftops and hills during the conversation. They had clear shots on every alien soldier who was near a colonist. They fired simultaneously. Every Zalgorath soldier holding a weapon near a civilian dropped dead in the same second. One shot, one kill. The aliens near the colonists were eliminated before they could pull their triggers. The remaining aliens panicked. Some tried to run. Others tried to fight. The Marines moved in fast, their armor allowing them to take hits while returning devastating fire. Within minutes, the town square was secure. Nicole retracted her helmet and approached the colonists. I am Lieutenant Harper, Terran Marines. You are safe now. Medical teams are on the way. Is anyone seriously injured? Danny Hughes stepped forward. We have wounded. Some are in bad shape. The aliens were not gentle. We brought the best medics in the fleet, Nicole assured him. They will take care of everyone. More drop pods were landing. These ones carried doctors, nurses, and medical equipment. Engineers came too to start repairing the damage. Supply ships began bringing food and water. Jake held Linda. Captain Brady stood in the interrogation room aboard the Vengeance. Across from him sat a captured Zalgorath officer, one of the few survivors from the destroyed fleet. The alien was wounded but alive, its forearms bound in magnetic restraints. Let me be very clear, Brady said, his voice quiet and dangerous. You attacked our colony. You killed our people. You took prisoners. I want to know everything about your empire. Where are your bases? What other human colonies have you attacked? How many of our people have you taken? The alien officer remained silent, its strange eyes staring at Brady with what might have been defiance. Brady leaned forward. You can talk to me now, or I can hand you over to the families of the people you killed. I promise you they will be much less patient than I am. Still silence. Brady sighed and stood up. Very well. Lieutenant Kelly, bring in the data cores we recovered from their command ship. Let's see what their computers can tell us. The interrogation was taking place across multiple ships. Other captured Zalgorath were being questioned by intelligence officers. Some talked. Others refused. But it didn't matter much because the humans had recovered the alien computers intact. Human computer experts worked on breaking the Zalgorath encryption. It took less than 6 hours. Once inside the alien databases, what they found made everyone sick with rage. "Captain, you need to see this," Kelly said, bringing up files on the main screen. "The Zalgorath have been attacking human colonies for 6 months. New Hope was the 8th target." Brady felt his stomach turn. 8 colonies? How many people? Over 4,000 colonists are listed as either killed or taken as slaves. The Zalgorath have been hitting frontier settlements, places too far from our main fleet bases to get quick support. "Show me the locations." Kelly brought up a star chart. 8 human colonies were marked in red. New Hope was just one of them. The others were scattered across the frontier, each one days away from military help. "There is more, sir," Kelly continued. "We found target lists. They were planning to hit 5 more colonies in the next 2 months. Brady's hands clenched into fists. This was not just one rogue commander. This was a systematic campaign against humanity. The Zalgorath Empire had been raiding human space like it was their personal hunting ground. "Get this information to Fleet Command immediately," Brady ordered. "Priority transmission. And find out where our people are. If any colonists from the other attacks are still alive, I want locations." On Earth, at Terran Defense Fleet Headquarters, Admiral Richard Stone read the report from New Hope Colony. His face grew darker with every page. Around him, other high-ranking officers were reading the same information. 4,000 of our citizens," Admiral Stone said quietly. 4,000, and we did not even know we were under attack. The Zalgorath targeted remote colonies specifically, General Karen Foster from the Marine Corps explained. "By the time we got distress calls, they were already gone. They hit fast and disappeared." "Not anymore," Stone replied. "Captain Brady destroyed their fleet at New Hope. We have their databases. We know where they have been and where they were planning to go." He stood up and addressed the room. "Gentlemen and ladies, we are going to send a message that will be heard across the entire galaxy. The Zalgorath Empire thinks they can attack human colonies without consequences. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Orders went out across all of human space. Every available warship was called up. Reserve crews were activated. Marine battalions were put on standby. The entire Terran Defense Fleet was mobilizing for war. At the same time, human diplomats were contacting other species in the galaxy. The message was simple. Humanity had been attacked. Humanity was responding. Stay out of the way. Most alien governments were shocked. The Zalgorath Empire was one of the oldest and most powerful military forces in the region. They had conquered 400 worlds over centuries. And now these upstart humans were declaring war on them? Some species thought humanity was being foolish. Others remembered their own encounters with the Zalgorath and quietly cheered. A few offered support, though most preferred to watch and wait. On New Hope Colony, the cleanup was continuing. Medical teams worked around the clock treating injured colonists. Engineers repaired damaged buildings. Counselors helped people process the trauma they had experienced. Jake Morrison was helping rebuild his barn when a Marine officer approached him. "Mr. Morrison? I am Captain Susan Clark. I need to ask you some questions about what happened here." Jake set down his tools. "What do you need to know?" "Everything. From the moment the aliens arrived until our fleet showed up. We are building a case for war crimes prosecution. Your testimony will be important." Jake told her everything. He described the attack, the casual cruelty of the aliens, watching Pete Carter die for one act of resistance. He talked about being separated from his family, seeing his farm destroyed, wondering if help would come in time. Captain Clark took notes on everything. "Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Your testimony will be added to the evidence file. The people who ordered this attack will face justice." Similar interviews were happening across the colony. Every colonist who had witnessed the attack was asked to give a statement. The picture that emerged was damning. The Zalgorath had not just conquered the colony. They had been unnecessarily brutal, killing people who posed no threat, destroying property for no military reason. They enjoyed it, Danny Hughes told the investigators. You could see it in how they moved, how they acted. This was not just about taking resources. They liked hurting us. The evidence was compiled and sent to Earth. Legal experts began building formal charges. This would not just be a military response. This would be a legal war, fought according to interstellar law, with proper documentation of every crime. 3 weeks after the Battle of New Hope Colony, the Terran Federation made a formal announcement to the galaxy. President Helen Crawford stood before cameras, her expression serious. 3 weeks ago, the Zalgorath Empire attacked New Hope Colony, a peaceful farming settlement. They killed hundreds of our citizens. They took thousands more as prisoners or slaves. We have now learned this was not an isolated incident. The Zalgorath have been raiding human space for 6 months. She paused, letting that sink in. The Terran Federation has exhausted all diplomatic options. The Zalgorath have refused to return our people or make reparations. They have refused to acknowledge their crimes. Therefore, a state of war now exists between humanity and the Zalgorath Empire. The president continued. We do not make this decision lightly, but we will not allow our people to be attacked without response. We will not allow our citizens to be enslaved. We will not rest until every human taken by the Zalgorath is returned, and those responsible for these crimes are brought to justice. Our military has been given clear orders. Locate and liberate all human prisoners. Destroy the Zalgorath military capacity to threaten our colonies, and assist other species who have suffered under Zalgorath occupation. On the Zalgorath homeworld of Zalgathon Prime, the High Council watched the human president's speech with growing alarm. Supreme Commander Vorkash stood before them, his military career suddenly in jeopardy. How did this happen? Council leader Zalmara demanded. You assured us these raids would be simple and profitable. Now we are at war with an entire species. The humans were supposed to be weak, Vorkash replied. Our intelligence indicated they had limited military capacity. We were wrong. Clearly, another council member said sarcastically. They destroyed a fleet of 53 ships with minimal losses. That is not weak. What is the status of our military? Zalmara asked. We have approximately 8,000 warships across all our territories, Vorkash reported. However, many are needed to maintain control of our conquered worlds. We cannot abandon our empire to fight the humans. Then what do you suggest? We fortify our borders with human space, deploy additional fleets to protect our frontier worlds, and we continue our normal operations elsewhere. The humans are just one species among thousands. They cannot threaten our entire empire. But even as Vorkash said these words, he did not sound convinced, and the other council members looked worried. They had all seen the battle footage from New Hope. They had all read the reports about human weapons and tactics. For the first time in centuries, the Zalgorath Empire was facing an enemy that might actually be able to hurt them. Across human space, the war machine was gearing up. Shipyards worked day and night building new vessels. Training camps processed thousands of new recruits. Supply lines were established. Intelligence networks mapped Zalgorath territory. The Terran Defense Fleet organized itself into battle groups. Each group had a specific mission. Some would defend human colonies. Others would hunt Zalgorath raiders. And several large fleets were being prepared for major offensive operations. Commodore Brady, promoted for his actions at New Hope, was given command of one of these offensive fleets. His mission was simple: find the other 7 colonies that had been attacked, liberate any survivors, and destroy every Zalgorath military installation he found along the way. We are not just defending ourselves, Admiral Stone told Brady during their final briefing. We are sending a message to the entire galaxy. Attack humanity and we will bring down your entire civilization. The Zalgorath mining installation at Kepler 88 was massive. Thousands of slaves from a dozen different species worked there, digging valuable minerals from the asteroid belt. The facility had been operating for 30 years, feeding the Empire's war machine with raw materials. The slaves had learned not to hope. Hope only made the suffering worse. They woke up, worked until they collapsed, and hoped only to survive another day. The Zalgorath guards were brutal to anyone who worked too slowly or complained. Then one day, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. The guards rushed to their battle stations. Something was happening in space outside. Commodore Brady's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel right on top of the installation. 60 human warships appeared without warning, weapons already charged and targeting systems locked on. Attention Zalgorath facility, Brady broadcast. This installation is now under Terran authority. Power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction. The facility commander tried to respond with threats, but his words were cut off as human railguns took out the defensive weapons. Missiles destroyed the shield generators. Within 5 minutes, the station was helpless. Marine dropships launched carrying Lieutenant Nicole Harper and her battalion. They cut through the station's hull and poured inside, moving with practiced efficiency through the corridors. The Zalgorath guards tried to resist. It was a short fight. The Marines had better armor, better weapons, and better training. More importantly, they were fighting to free innocent people, while the guards were just trying to save their own lives. Nicole and her team reached the main holding area where the slaves were kept. She activated her translator so all species could understand her. "Everyone stay calm. We are humans from the Terran Defense Fleet. You are being liberated. The Zalgarath do not control this facility anymore." The slaves looked at her with confusion and disbelief. One of them, a thin alien with blue skin, stepped forward. "You are human?" "The Zalgarath told us humans were primitive. They said you could barely travel between stars." Nicole smiled. "The Zalgarath lied about a lot of things. Come on, let's get you all to safety. Medical teams are standing by." As the slaves were evacuated to human ships, they kept looking around in wonder. Many had been prisoners for years. Some had never thought they would see freedom again. One elderly alien grabbed Nicole's arm as she passed. His translator rendered his words in English. "Thank you. My people have been slaves here for 15 years. We thought no one would ever come for us." "We came," Nicole replied simply, "and we are going to free everyone the Zalgarath have taken." The pattern repeated across multiple systems. Brady's fleet hit one Zalgarath installation after another. Each time they found slaves, they freed them. Each time they found military forces, they destroyed them. The operation was methodical and unstoppable. At a supply depot in the Ross system, they found 300 human colonists who had been taken from the other attacked colonies. The humans were being held as workers, forced to sort and process stolen goods. When the Marines broke into their holding area, many of the colonists thought they were hallucinating. 6 months of captivity had worn them down. They looked thin and tired, many bearing signs of abuse. "Is this real?" one woman asked, touching a Marine's armor like she couldn't believe it was solid. "Are you really here?" "We are really here," the Marine replied. "You are going home," the rescued colonists cried. They hugged each other and hugged the Marines. Some fell to their knees in relief. The nightmare was over. But not all the news was good. Of the 4,000 colonists taken in the initial raids, only about 2,000 were found alive. The rest had died from abuse, overwork, or had been killed when they tried to resist. Each name added to the list of crimes the Zalgarath would answer for. Back on Zalgathon Prime, the High Council was receiving disaster reports daily. System after system was falling to the human fleet. Slaves were being freed. Military installations were being destroyed. The humans were not just fighting back. They were dismantling the Empire piece by piece. "We have lost control of 27 systems in the past month," Vorkash reported. His forearms hung limply at his sides. He looked defeated. "The humans are moving faster than we can respond. Every freed world inspires revolt on other worlds. Our empire is collapsing. How many ships have we lost?" Zelmara asked. "Over 300 warships destroyed or captured. The humans fight with a level of coordination we cannot match. Their weapons technology is superior, and they seem to know exactly where to strike for maximum effect." This last part was particularly troubling. Somehow the humans had detailed intelligence about Zalgarath operations. They knew where the prison facilities were, where the military bases were, where the supply lines ran. Every attack was precisely targeted to cause maximum damage. What the Zalgarath did not know was that many of the freed slaves were providing information. Species that had been conquered by the Zalgarath were eager to help their liberators. They drew maps, identified key facilities, and explained the Empire's weaknesses. The humans were also getting help from an unexpected source. Some Zalgarath soldiers, seeing their empire crumbling and disgusted by the crimes they had been ordered to commit, were defecting. They brought their knowledge of military deployments and defensive strategies with them. "Recommend immediate negotiations for peace," Vorkash told the council. "We cannot win this war." "Negotiations?" Zalmara replied angrily. "The mighty Zalgarath Empire does not beg for peace from primitives." "Then the Empire will fall," Vorkash said bluntly. "We are already receiving reports of uprisings on conquered worlds. The subject populations see that we can be beaten. They see the humans winning. If we do not end this war soon, we will not have an empire left to defend." The council argued for hours. Some wanted to fight to the last ship. Others saw the writing on the wall and wanted to negotiate. In the end, practical concerns won out. They sent a diplomatic message to the Terran Federation requesting talks. President Crawford received the message with her cabinet. Everyone read it in silence. "They want to negotiate a ceasefire," Crawford said. "In exchange, they offered to return all remaining human prisoners and pay reparations. Is that enough?" asked Defense Secretary Paul Martinez. They killed thousands of our people. They enslaved others. They attacked peaceful colonies. What are our objectives? Crawford asked the room. What did we go to war to achieve? Secretary of State Linda Grant spoke up. We went to war to rescue our people and ensure this never happens again. We have rescued everyone we could find. The question is how far we go in punishment. The Zalgarath Empire is finished as a major power, Admiral Stone added. They have lost too many ships, too many systems. Even if we stopped now, they would never be able to threaten us again. Other species they conquered are already breaking free, Crawford thought carefully. We could continue the war. We could push all the way to their home world. We could occupy their territory and remake their entire society. But at what cost? How many human lives would that require? And do we really want to become an occupying power across dozens of star systems? The debate continued for days. Some in the government wanted total victory. Others argued that the point had been made. Humanity was not weak. Humanity would defend itself. Everyone in the galaxy now knew this. In the end, Crawford made the decision. We will negotiate, but our terms will be severe. Full demilitarization of their military, war crimes trials for everyone involved in ordering or carrying out attacks on civilians, reparations to all affected species, not just humans, and 50 years of international oversight to ensure compliance. The terms were transmitted to the Zalgarath. The council read them with dismay. These were harsh terms that would effectively end their empire. But the alternative was total destruction. After 3 days of internal debate that nearly triggered a civil war among the Zalgarath themselves, the council accepted. 6 months after the attack on New Hope Colony, a formal surrender ceremony was held aboard the human flagship Unity. Commodore Brady, now promoted to admiral for his role in the Liberation Campaign, stood in full dress uniform. Supreme Commander Vorkash came aboard with a small delegation. He looked older than before, worn down by defeat. When he spoke, his translator rendered his words clearly. On behalf of the Zalgarath High Council and people, I formally surrender the Zalgarath military to the Terran Federation and its allies. We accept full responsibility for the crimes committed against humanity and other species. We submit to the terms of peace as dictated by the victors. Brady accepted the surrender with military precision. Then he spoke, knowing his words were being broadcast across the galaxy. Let today serve as a lesson to all who would threaten humanity or any peaceful species. The Terran Federation seeks peace and cooperation with all beings, but we will defend our people with every resource we possess. We will not tolerate attacks on our civilians. We will not accept the enslavement of any species, and we will never forget those who harm the innocent. The ceremony ended. The war was over. The Zalgarath Empire, which had conquered 400 worlds over centuries, had been brought down in 6 months by a species they had dismissed as primitive. On New Hope Colony, 2 years had passed since the war ended. The galaxy was a different place now. The Zalgarath Empire was gone, broken into smaller independent systems. The former slave worlds were free, building their own governments and futures, and humanity had established itself as a major power in the region. Jake Morrison walked through his wheat fields, watching the automated harvester work. The crops were better than ever. New Hope Colony had not just recovered from the attack. It had grown. The population was now over 3,000, with new families arriving every month. The colony looked different too. New buildings stood alongside the repaired old ones. A proper spaceport had been built, with regular shuttle service to other human worlds. And there was a permanent Terran Defense Fleet station in orbit, home to a squadron of warships that ensured no one would ever threaten this colony again. Emma was 8 years old now. She went to a bigger school with more students. Sometimes she still had nightmares about the day the aliens came, but they were getting less frequent. Linda had started teaching at the school, helping the younger children learn. "Dad, there are visitors coming," Emma called out, running across the field toward him. Jake looked up to see a shuttle landing near the farmhouse. It bore the markings of the Terran government. He wiped his hands on his work clothes and walked over as the shuttle doors opened. Admiral Alan Brady stepped out, now wearing the uniform of the Defense Fleet's highest ranks. With him were several other officers, including Lieutenant Nicole Harper, who had been promoted to captain. "Admiral Brady," Jake said, shaking the man's hand. "This is a surprise. What brings you all the way out here?" A promise I made to myself, Brady replied. After the war, I wanted to visit every colony that was attacked, to see the recovery with my own eyes. New Hope was the first, so it seemed right to come back here. They walked to the farmhouse where Linda had prepared refreshments. Emma stared at the officers with wide eyes, especially at the medals on their uniforms. How is the colony doing? Brady asked. Better than we hoped, Jake replied. The government aid helped a lot with rebuilding, and we have much better defenses now. But more than that, people feel safe. They know if something happens, help will come. It will, Brady confirmed. We have established rapid response fleets throughout the frontier. No colony will ever wait for help like you did. Captain Harper spoke up. Mr. Morrison, we have been following up on something. The object Emma found that morning before the attack. Do you still have it? Jake nodded and retrieved the strange metal piece from a shelf. The Zalgorath symbols were still visible on its surface. Harper examined it carefully. We thought so, she said. This is a Zalgorath scout probe. They must have sent it ahead to survey the colony before the attack. That is how they knew this was a farming settlement with minimal defenses. So this thing brought them here, Jake said quietly. Yes, but it also provided evidence for the war crimes trials. The probe's data log showed this was a planned raid on a civilian target. Several Zalgorath commanders were convicted partly because of evidence from probes like this. The war crimes trials had been major news across the galaxy for months. Hundreds of Zalgorath military officers had been prosecuted for their roles in attacking civilian populations. Some received prison sentences. Others were executed according to interstellar law. Commander Zalcourt, who had led the attack on New Hope, was among those who faced the death penalty. How do you feel about that? Brady asked Jake. About the trials and sentences? Jake thought carefully. Pete Carter's widow asked me the same thing. I told her the truth. I am not happy those beings are dead, but I am glad they can never hurt anyone else. Justice is not about revenge. It is about making sure these crimes do not happen again. Brady nodded approvingly. That is a wise perspective. It is one the president shares. We could have burned the Zalgorath homeworld to ash. Many people wanted us to, but that would have made us no better than them. What happens to their people now? Linda asked. They are rebuilding, Harper explained. The Zalgorath species is not evil. They were just following leaders who made terrible decisions. Now they have new leadership, democratic elections for the first time in their history. It will take generations, but they have a chance to become something better. Emma tugged on her father's sleeve. Daddy, can I ask the Admiral a question? Of course, sweetie, Jake said. Emma looked at Brady with serious eyes. Are there other bad aliens out there? Other ones who might attack us? Brady knelt down to her level, just like Jake often did. Emma, there are many species in the galaxy. Most of them are good, peaceful beings who just want to live their lives like you and your family. Some are not good. But here is what I want you to remember. Humanity will always protect its people. You are safe because millions of humans across the stars are working every day to keep you safe. Like you and Captain Harper? That is right. And like your dad, who stood strong when bad things happened and helped other people. Heroes are not just soldiers, Emma. Heroes are anyone who helps others when things get hard. They spent another hour at the farm, talking about the recovery and the future. Before they left, Brady had one more piece of news. The Federation Council has decided to rename this planet, he said. It will no longer be just Kepler 442F. From now on, it will officially be called Hope. And this colony will be New Hope on the planet Hope. That is fitting, Jake said. After everything that happened, hope is what kept us going. After the shuttle left, Jake and his family stood in their yard watching it climb into the sky. The sun was setting, painting the clouds in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful and peaceful. Things really are different now, aren't they? Linda said. Yes, Jake agreed. The galaxy knows about us now. Really knows about us. We are not just the new species anymore. We are a power that other species have to respect. Across human space, that respect was evident everywhere. Trade agreements that had been difficult before the war now came easily. Diplomatic relations were stronger. And several species that had been conquered by the Zalgorath had asked to join a new coalition with humanity as one of the leading members. The Galactic Community, as it was being called, was a voluntary organization dedicated to mutual defense and cooperation. 12 species had joined so far, including the humans. Together, they represented over 100 inhabited systems. On Earth, President Crawford was serving her second term. The successful war against the Zalgorath had made her very popular, though she often said she would have preferred never to fight at all. She was giving a speech at the Terran Defense Academy, addressing the graduating class of new officers. These young men and women would serve on the ships that protected humanity across the stars. "You are joining the defense fleet at a historic time," Crawford told them. 2 years ago, we faced an existential threat. An empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds attacked our people. They thought we were weak. They learned otherwise. But I do not want you to only remember that we won a war. I want you to remember why we fought. We fought to protect our people. We fought to defend the helpless. We fought so that no species would live in fear of conquest and slavery. The Terran Defense Fleet is not just a military force. It is a promise that wherever humans go in the galaxy, they will be protected. A promise that humanity will stand against tyranny and oppression. A promise that we will never forget our values, even when facing superior numbers or seemingly impossible odds. The new officers listened intently. Many of them had joined specifically because of the war. They had seen what happened when good people were attacked, and they wanted to be part of the solution. Admiral Stone, who was also at the ceremony, spoke after the president. "You will face challenges in your careers," he told the graduates. "Not every threat will be as clear as the Zalgorath. Not every decision will be easy. But remember this: humanity survived and thrived on Earth, a planet that tried to kill us 1,000 different ways. We built civilizations from nothing. We reached the stars through determination and ingenuity. When other species meet us, they need to understand something fundamental. We are not looking for fights. We prefer peace and cooperation. But if someone threatens our people, our response will be swift and overwhelming. We protect our own, always." The ceremony ended with the new officers taking their oaths. They swore to defend humanity and uphold the values of the Federation. Then they were assigned to their first posts. Spreading out across the fleet, some went to frontier patrol ships, watching over colonies like New Hope. Others joined the exploration service, seeking new worlds and making contact with new species. A few were assigned to the diplomatic corps, helping maintain the peace that had been won. Life was returning to normal across human space, but it was a new normal. People were more aware of the galaxy around them. Children learned about alien species in school. Every colony had proper defenses, and the fleet maintained a state of readiness that ensured humanity would never be caught unprepared again. On the Zalgorath homeworld, now simply called Gothon, the new government was working to rebuild their society. The High Council had been replaced with an elected parliament. The military had been reduced to a defense force no longer capable of conquest. Many Zalgorath,